And welcome back to the show, everybody. We're talking round ball today. Golf, yes, but more like the big leather ball. It's hoops time, and our guest today, a special guest. We'll introduce him in a second. All this brought to you by our friends at Casa de Campo in the Dominican Republic. I was there before Christmas. Jerry Pate redid Teeth of the Dog, the Pete Dye gym, and it is special. I'm telling you, plan your vacation right now. Family vacay, golf vacay. They do it all at casadecampo.com. That Teeth of the Dog, 7 holes open up to the ocean. It is absolutely breathtaking. All right, that brings us to our next guest, who, by the way, is a pretty good golfer in his own right. The one and only Murry Bartow.
Used to
basketball fame. Murray, you can still play, right?
A little bit. Not
You're
like
being
you.
modest.
Not like you, but a little bit.
Hey, I wanted to mention this because I was doing a little research. Not that I needed to do a lot before you came on. But when I look back at your career, Murray, and of course, Murray's now a scout for the Charlotte Hornets. You see the logos on his shirt. I mean, he was a grad assistant for the great Bobby Knight when they won a national championship with Steve Alford, an assistant for his legendary dad, Gene Bartow, head coach at UAB, followed his dad. East Tennessee State for a dozen years. They went to a bunch of NCAA tournaments, head coach at South Florida and UCLA as he was involved in those programs as well. I mean, Murray, we need to write a book. I mean, my goodness, what a book it could be.
I don't know about that, but had a fun time coaching, a lot of fun days. You know, when you're in coaching, a lot of highs, a lot of lows.
Yes.
A lot of up and down, but still text with a lot of my former players and
That's great.
memories. And so anyway, I miss those days. I'm enjoying the scouting, which is very different than coaching, but certainly miss my coaching days.
Well, you had an incredible run, and it was my honor to be there with you and your dad back in the day at UAB. That was so much fun, and I can't believe time is ticking away, Murray. That was a long time ago. Tell me this now, as you have scouted all these great teams and players in college basketball, and I'm sure you've seen St. John's play, and Coach Pitino, 900 wins. He said recently the game inside the lines is the best it's ever been. He said he's never seen the game at this high of a standard. He said outside the lines, obviously, there's all sorts of things going on. But do you agree with him that what you see inside the lines is better now than it's ever been?
I'd have to think about that. Possibly. I mean, the athleticism of these young guys and the skill level of these young guys, and you're talking about guys that are 18, 19 years old. I know we may talk about a few of them, but the freshman class this year, and these guys are 18, 19 years old, but the athleticism combined with the skill level is pretty amazing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think back to some great teams over the years. And when I hear Coach Pitino say that, I'm kind of like you. I'm kind of like, I need to think about that. Like that UNLV team back in the day was pretty darn good. Duke had some great teams.
Sure.
I mean, we could go way back, but obviously you're right. Maybe it's a different level of athleticism today. I don't know. Who's the best team you've seen, Murray? Because you see them in person on TV. I mean, Arizona, I think, is incredible. UConn is unbelievable. I saw Wisconsin beat Michigan, which kind of surprised me, but Michigan's up there. Who's the best team you've seen so far this season?
You just named 3 of them. I've seen all the best teams, but Arizona, Tommy Lloyd's got a great heck of a team. Dusty's doing an unbelievable job at Michigan. Dan Hurley's got another really good team. Certainly the best team in the Big East, one of the best teams in the country. So those would be 3 of my, certainly Michigan, Arizona, UConn. I love Houston. Houston is so tough, so physical, and when you think of Kelvin Sampson, they're always going to defend and play hard. So I'd put Houston right in that mix too. Who am I missing, Doug? I'm missing one. I'd put Duke. I would put Duke in that top 5 or 6. Led by Cameron Boozer, and Isaiah Evans is playing better, the shooter, and John's done a great job with that team. So I'd probably put them in that mix too. I think I'm maybe missing 1 or 2, but those are certainly 5 or 6 of the top teams. I tell you one other team I'll throw in there. They are playing so well right now is Illinois. I think Illinois's got one of the best rosters in the country. When I go in and watch games, I'm looking for guys that we think can play in the NBA. Some teams have 1 or 2 guys. Illinois, they might have 5, 6 guys on their roster that will be in the NBA at some point in their career.
Yeah, a lot of European kids who like to shoot that three-point shot. And I guess that's kind of what you're looking for, right, when you're scouting them, because that's kind of what the NBA game is. At least when I watch, there's a lot of three-point shots being thrown up.
That's a big part of it. You're looking for a lot of things. Athleticism and length. Length is so important in the NBA. Size, positional size is so critical in the NBA. Can they shoot? Or are they a two-way guy? Some guys are just very offensive minded. A few guys will get down and actually guard at the other end. But Illinois' got some really good players. But yeah, shoot. If a guy can't shoot, let's say he can really defend and he can rebound, but let's say he's a perimeter guy and he can't shoot, that's certainly a red flag.
Well, it's fascinating, and people don't realize the small amount of young men who played college get to actually play in the NBA. Very small amounts. You're out there scouting the best of the best, which to me is fascinating. Talk about the Southeastern Conference now, Murray, because, for example, the other night, Alabama beats Texas A&M 100-97. I'm watching this game going, this looks like an NBA game. Of course, obviously the coaches like that style. What do you think of the Southeastern Conference? Because there really is no runaway team. I mean, you got 2 losses, 3, 4. Even the teams with maybe 5 losses can get hot. Well, what do you make of the Southeastern Conference?
That's a good question. I haven't seen Texas A&M live, but Bucky obviously has done a magnificent job. I've seen Alabama a lot. They're right, I live in Birmingham, so they're right down the road. So I see a lot of Auburn and a lot of Alabama because I want to see them, but I also want to see teams that are coming in to play them. If I had to pick a couple, I'd probably start with Florida. Right now, they're playing really well, and they've probably got the best front line in college basketball, and their guards are starting to play better. I think Arkansas is dangerous because they're just so talented.
Right.
They've got a really talented roster. So I'd probably start with Florida, probably then go to Arkansas. And then I think there's some other good teams. I think Alabama is dangerous because they can, if they're hot on a given game, because they've got so many guys that can make threes. Obviously, their team is led by probably a first-round pick in LeBaron Philon. Kentucky's playing better. Who am I missing, Doug, that you like?
No. I'm glad you mentioned Arkansas. Tennessee's pretty good.
Tennessee is solid. Rick's one of my great friends, and I love Rick, and I love the job he does. Obviously, they've got probably a lottery pick in Nate Ament.
Yes.
And then Jacoby Gillespie at the guard spot is playing well and might have a chance to play in the NBA, but I probably don't like their total roster as much as I like maybe Florida's. Florida's got 4 or 5 guys that will probably play in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, they're fun to watch.
Arkansas's got a number of guys led by Darius Acuff that will probably play in the NBA. But Rick's obviously one of the best coaches in the country.
Been around a long time. Back when I was doing Big 12, he was halfway through his tenure there at Texas. I mean, he's been doing it a long time. Tell me this now, and listen, I go way back with Bucky McMillan. When he was a guard at Birmingham Southern.
Sure.
I was doing some of their play-by-play.
Sure.
And all the coaches say he runs a style nobody else is running. And as you watch it, obviously they're fast-paced. He does pressure as you bring the ball in bounds, which is a little bit different. He has a little Princeton style. Had several back cuts last night that led to wide-open layups. I mean, is that kind of what it is? Because when I hear coaches say, boy, he's running something we don't see, what exactly is it?
I haven't seen them play this year, but obviously I saw him at Mountain Brook. I saw him at Samford. It's just very pressure-oriented.
Yeah.
That's really what I would say. Pressure offensively. They're going to try to run it up quick. They're going to take a lot of threes. And then defensively, it's a little different because they're seemingly always in full court pressure. And then the other thing he does, he runs, runs guys in and out of the game, so he's constantly just running guys, keeping guys fresh, but playing 9, 10 guys. So a little deeper rotation, more pressure, and he's been really effective to this point because their roster, when you look at it from an NBA standpoint, they don't have like tons of NBA guys running around, and he's had some injuries, so he's doing it a little bit with smoke and mirrors because he's got a good roster, but certainly doesn't have the roster that 4 or 5 others in the SEC have.
Murray, it's so different. I mean, go back to when you were a head coach. Can you imagine taking over a team? And in Bucky's case, there were no players. He takes the job. Buzz Williams goes to Maryland. I mean, he was building a roster from scratch. I know other coaches are in the same boat this day and age. But to me, that is just crazy. And of course, he reached out to his connections in Europe, and he found this guy from junior college, and he found this guy from North Alabama. I guess you got to go find these kids, right?
Well, you do, and you can look at it different ways, Doug. If let's say you're Bucky 10 years ago and you go into Texas A&M, and you at that point in time you would have had to keep the prior roster. And maybe the roster's not good, but you've got to keep it and live with it for a couple years. Now you can obviously just flip it. You can flip it immediately. So there's kind of give and take with that. I think you can go into I'm not saying Texas A&M was bad. Buzz had some good years and they had some good players, but you can immediately flip a program now. You look at what Dusty's done at Michigan. Wow. He goes in and they weren't very good when he took over, and just, snap your fingers and immediately you can flip it and change the roster. It's called having money and having that NIL money. So that's what Bucky's been able to do.
It was also fascinating, and I go back to Coach Pitino, who's coached all over the world. I mean, obviously when he left Louisville, he went over to Greece, et cetera. And he brought up the point that the budgets for college basketball teams, the big guys, are bigger than G League budgets.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, for sure.
That when he said that shocked me, Murray.
Well,
it's amazing.
What's interesting to me salary-wise is 5 or 6 years ago, let's say we were talking about guys that were going to go into the G League. Those guys, if they're E10 guys, those guys would be making, let's say, $120,000. If they were good enough to be a two-way guy, they were going to make about $600,000. Well, 5, 6 years ago, that sounded like a lot of money to these guys. The problem now with these best players at the Power 4 schools, they'll all if they go to play in the G League now, they're going to be taking a pay cut. Or if they go to play, or if they're even if they're a two-way guy, let's say they're a two-way guy making $650,000, a lot of these guys now are making over $1 million. So it's pretty unusual now what's going on. And what you're seeing, Doug, and this is obvious, but you're seeing guys stay longer and longer and longer in college because there's no, if you can stay in college longer and make over $1 million a year, unless you're going to be a first-round pick, there's no reason to risk it and possibly be a G League guy, and you'll be making 1/10 of what you were potentially making in a Power 4. So it's pretty different right now.
Well, and outside of basketball, I mean, do you see this like, let's say in college football, somebody needs a left tackle and there's a guy in the Canadian Football League. Could he come back? I mean, in baseball, if there's a guy for the Birmingham Barons who played at an SEC school, could he come back? I mean, is this going to infiltrate other sports?
It's a good question. That's why I'm scouting and I don't have to worry about all that. But I'm going to tell you a lot of moving parts if you're a college coach right now. A lot of moving parts. I look back at my days at East Tennessee State, and I had a bunch of good players and a bunch of good teams. No way to keep those guys now. Like if you're at a school like that and let's say you get a really good freshman, I won't name their names. Like I look in the Southern Conference right now, and there's 3 or 4 really good freshmen that are averaging 16, 17, 18 a game. There's no way, if you're the head coach of that program, there's no way you can expect him to be back with your program next year as a sophomore because he's going to get plucked away. And so that's what you're seeing in the low to mid-major conferences. They just can't keep their guys. And
Yeah, yeah.
so got to be frustrating. And even my good friends who are at high-level programs, it's very different. They're having to adjust, and it's very different now with
Ah.
obviously the portal and combined with NIL.
Yeah, and you look at a guy like Mark Pope, and reportedly they spent $22 million on a roster, and they're starting to play better now, and they've had a ton of injuries. It just, chemistry-wise, it just wasn't working early in the season. So I guess you spend a lot of money, you just never know, right?
You never know. And in Mark's defense, and you mentioned it already, Mark's a heck of a coach. But you get Jaden Quaintance, and you're paying him the most money, I'm sure. And he's a potential lottery pick, and he's been basically out the whole year. Your point guard, you're probably paying, I'm guessing, the second most money, or certainly he's being paid a lot. And then he gets hurt, Jalen Lowe, the transfer from Pitt. So anyway, they've lost their point guard, they've lost their center in Jaden Quaintance, and their other guys are good, but I don't see their other guys like his potential. I don't think he's got any other first-round guys on his team. He's got some fringe guys. So I tell you, you bring something up, Doug, that's interesting. I think coaches now are getting scrutinized even more. And like from the boosters and from your donors, just what you said, you brought up the $22 million figure. So now fans know those numbers, and so now they're going to start judging you as a coach based on your evaluation skills. Let's say you've got a kid that publicly it's pretty well known that he's making $2 to $3 million, and let's say you're not getting a lot out of him. Well, then the fans start. I just think it's another thing that's going to be very hard for coaches to navigate.
It is a very unusual time for those of us who've been in college basketball a long time. All right, let me throw some names at you. You've seen these kids play in person. I have not seen Cameron Boozer except on television. Seems to me like he's a one-year guy in college, and he could, be the first overall pick next year?
I don't know where, and I'm just speaking for me. I'm not speaking for the Charlotte Hornets organization, but he's certainly a top 3 or 4 pick.
Okay.
I don't know that he'll be the number 1 pick. Obviously, he's a heck of a player. The one knock maybe is he doesn't have the freakish athleticism that some guys have.
Okay.
But he's just so productive. I mean, scores, rebounds. He's a really good athlete, but maybe not a crazy athlete. But he's certainly will be a top 2 or 3, 4 pick in the NBA draft. Yeah, you will not see him in a Duke uniform next year.
He's a big guy like his dad. A.J. DeBonsa of BYU. Now, again, I've seen all these guys on TV, and this kid impresses me. What about A.J.?
Crazy athlete.
Yeah.
You think, not to compare him, but if you think of like a Kobe Bryant type, he's
Wow.
he's 6'8". He's a little taller than Kobe was, but he's 6'8", 6'9", ridiculous athlete. And he's a franchise type guy, and I don't use that word very often. Certainly we used that word last year with Cooper Flagg. We used it the year before with Victor Wembanyama. So I don't throw the franchise word around much, but with A.J. DeBonsa, he's potentially could be really, really special, like a long-time all-star, long-time great player, but he's really super athletic, can make, not a great shooter, he's a good shooter, but he's one of those guys, Doug, that can just get to his spots. I mean, he can just, and when he gets to his spot at 15 feet in the paint, I mean, he rises up over everybody, and there's just no way to do anything. Once he gets to his spots, but he's different. Some guys, when you go see these guys, some guys kind of look about the same. You see A.J. DeBonsa, he's different. He's really talented. He's really good.
Yeah, I've seen them play several times, and so I'm actually making some notes right now. Darren Peterson of Kansas. He's kind of been injured off and on. I know Coach Self thinks highly of him. What about this kid?
Again, I would put him in that category, assuming he can figure out how to stay healthy, how to stay on the floor. But yeah, when he's healthy, Doug, he's a franchise type guy. I mean, he could, He could be like a Cooper Flag. He could be a longtime All-Star in the NBA. He can score. He's a good defender. They say he's really mature. I've never met him. I've never been around him, but incredible maturity level. Just a pro's pro, an incredible kid, worker, and can really, really score the ball. So he's certainly, if not the number one pick. It'll be interesting, Doug, because if you've got the number one pick and you've got a chance to take Boozer, you've got a chance to take A.J. DeBonsa, it's a little risky, a little bit taking Darren Peterson unless you're really sold that he's going to be healthy all the time. I would think it would concern you a little bit, but he's certainly one of the most talented players in the draft, for sure. You know, you talk to Bill. I think Bill thinks he's one of the best players he's ever had there.
Yeah, Bill said that a lot. And again, of course, we're rooting for Bill, who's kind of been under the weather off and on this season as well. You know, I know you see Bill. Hopefully he's doing okay, isn't he?
I think he is. I haven't seen Bill lately, but Bill's a good guy and certainly one of the best coaches in the country.
Yeah, I remember many, many years ago when I think Oral Roberts came to UAB and your dad.
Wow, you are going back.
Yeah, we did a live show. Your dad would always come out and be our guest. And he told me, he goes, look for this coach, Bill Self. He goes, he's going to be one of the best coaches in the country. And at the time, I was like, really? I was like, I've never heard of the guy. And, of course, your dad knew what he was talking about.
Yeah, from Oral Roberts to –
my goodness.
Did he go straight from Oral Roberts? Did he go to Tulsa or did he go straight to Illinois?
He went to Tulsa and did a nice job at Tulsa and then Illinois. And since he's been at Kansas, obviously Oklahoma State, the NBA. A lot of people have tried to coax him away. Yeah. And he's very, very happy there. All right, before I let you go, I got to ask you, I mean, we started off talking a little bit about your golf game. I was at the Amex 2 weeks ago when Scotty Scheffler won out there in Palm Springs. I know your dad absolutely loved Palm Springs, and I know why.
Oh, he loved Palm Springs.
When was the last time you played golf at Palm Springs? It's been a while?
It has been a while. You know, I've got great memories. My dad was a member at a place called Ironwood. And he was also a member at a place called Rancho La Quinta.
I've heard of it.
You probably played some of those places.
Sure.
You know, a lot of, of course, you and I both, we live in Birmingham, but a lot of Birmingham, some of the money people in the city of Birmingham, Palm Desert, Palm Springs is their getaway. And, you know, we've both got friends, good friends at Bighorn, you know, guys at Bighorn, guys. I played the Madison Club and stayed there with some friends. So I've had some good days in Palm Desert playing some golf. I'm not as good. Doug, my swing is so short.
It's always been short.
Older, I'm 64 now, and as I've gotten older, my swing, I think, has gotten shorter and shorter. I hit it pretty darn straight. Like I know where it's going. It's just not going very far.
That's what Bernard Langer says.
What?
He shot his age the other day again. He shot 64 and he's 68 years old. All right. Lastly, what is the one course you haven't played that you still hope to maybe one day get on and play 18 holes? Is there one?
Pebble Beach.
Really? I thought you would have played Pebble.
You could get me on Pebble. You and I could go out there together. But no, I've never played Pebble. I've been very fortunate. Played a lot of good courses, and I've played I played Pasatiempo, and I've played some of the courses out there. But I've never played Pebble. I've been on Pebble. I've been on the property there.
Right.
But I've never. And I'd have to say Augusta. I'll tell you a quick Augusta story. My dad was a good friend of Mr. Thompson, who owned Shoal Creek. And so Mr. Thompson was going to take a group of 8 people to this is the biggest mistake I've ever made. But anyway, my dad called me one day, said, Murray, I'd like you to join Mr. Thompson and myself, and we're going to have a few people, and Mr. Thompson would like you to come. And at that time, I was the head coach at ETSU, East Tennessee State, and I think it was, I can't remember the date, but we were practicing at that time, and long story short, I turned him down.
Oh, no.
And which is one of my all-time biggest regrets in my life. My cousin, Dick Bartow, he ended up getting the phone call after I turned it down, so one of my biggest regrets is my cousin Dick Bartow took my place, and that's one of his greatest memories he's ever had playing Augusta. Have you ever played Augusta, Doug?
No,
I'm sure you have. You never played it?
No, that's the carrot that I want to grab someday for sure.
Well, I'm sure you will.
That's
You will. Have you played Pebble?
Oh, Pebble is incredible. And the day I played at Murray, it was so beautiful outside. It was unreal. I mean, I'm one of my favorite golf rounds of all time. And let me tell you this, speaking of your dad and Mr. Thompson, years ago when I was doing Big 12, they sent me to interview all the head coaches preseason. And of course, Coach Knight comes into this room and did not want to do a one-on-one interview. And they warned me, they said, hey, I'm just letting you know Coach Knight's not in a good mood. I said, okay. And he sits down, and you could just tell he was prickly, and this was not going to be a good interview, Murray. And so as he sits down, I shook his hand, and I said, hey, I just want you to know that Gene Bartow and Hall Thompson wanted me to tell you hello. And he looks up, and he goes,
That's
you know
funny.
Gene Bartow and Hall Thompson? I said, yes, sir. They're very good friends of mine.
That's funny.
And he goes, all right, let's get this thing going. And he actually gave me a very nice interview.
Well, I was with him 2 years as a grad assistant, and I saw him. Of course, I loved my 2 years there, but I saw him in some rough moments too.
I'm sure.
I used to get yelled at plenty when I was a grad assistant working for him.
And you were coaching UAB at Indiana. I was doing the play-by-play. Your dad was the color analyst. And as the game tips off, your dad is still down talking to people that he knows. And the guy in the truck said, where's Coach Bartow? I said, don't worry about it. I got this handled until he gets here. And he came rolling up.
In Birmingham?
No, that was in Bloomington.
Oh, so the game in Bloomington, yes.
He was a little late arrival on the broadcast, but it was okay.
That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, he knew everybody. Your dad knew everybody everywhere.
He did. That was his. My dad's gift was people. He was just so incredible with people.
Oh, he was the best.
Yeah.
He was the absolute best. And I could tell you, we don't have enough time, but I could tell you 100 other stories where he was awful nice to me over the years. So, but anyway, Murray, we appreciate it. We need to get together after this basketball season. Let's get together and play a little golf. What do you say?
Love to.
Okay.
Love to.
Now you work to the Final Four, and then I guess through the draft, right?
This thing is about a 10-month.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of months off, but then once you start in October, it's just a ramp up until the draft.
Okay.
So the draft's late in June, but up from now until we make those picks in late June in the NBA draft, it's kind of 100 miles an hour, go, go, go. So, but then I'll have a couple months after that, and you and I will definitely hit the golf course one day.
I look forward to it. All right, Murray. Safe travels, my friend, and I appreciate all the info. Thank you.
Okay. Good talking to you, Doug. Good to see you. Good to see you.